Hello, Chechi. Welcome to the amFOSS podcast. We're so glad to have you with us here. Uh,
Thank
so,
you.
how are you doing? You're currently in the Netherlands. What is the COVID situation like there?
It's getting better. Actually, there are cases, of course, but right now there are mask is not mandatory. People
Oh,
can go in public. Okay, you wear mask when you're in the train, but otherwise it's not that mandatory. And I think 90% of the people have been vaccinated, at least one dose. And yeah, it's actually pretty much better. They are opening up the universities and also the workplaces. It's more hybrid, so it's like you 4 days a week you work from home, one day you go to the office kind of thing. So yeah,
oh,
you get to meet your colleagues face to face. I don't know, after 1 or 2 years. So yeah, I'm happy, to see people finally.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I think we have a
Yes.
bit of a way to go in India to
Yeah.
actually
Uh,
start seeing people and go to college like altogether.
I know. Yeah, it's difficult to attend classes online. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how are classes currently? You're doing a PhD, right? So, how are the classes there? How does it work online?
So in Eindhoven, we have some mandatory courseworks, but that is something that I've already finished. So the rest part is mostly we do research, we write papers, and that, yeah, it's mostly online. I have meetings with my supervisor online, and but for teaching, it's very tricky. And if I have to, have courses and teach bachelor students, and it's all online. And if you're in a class, you just wait for them to ask questions. They raise their hand, but here it's mostly like, okay, no one is typing anything. Are they really
Yeah.
there? Are they sleeping? So yeah, it's a whole new different feeling. But yeah, I think it's just we just have to get used to it, I guess.
I can probably imagine because we're the kind of guilty ones from the student side, just not answering.
Yeah, we have the students'
Nah,
perspective on this. We know what it's like.
it's not guilty. I mean, if you have to sit 8 hours in front of computer listening to technical stuff, it's really boring. I'm honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I also sympathize with students for that. But yeah, I don't think there's another workaround. But yeah.
Yeah.
So, Chechi, I'd like to ask you, how was the club back in your time? Like, I think it was around the beginning of, the clubs when it started. That was around the time when it really
Yes.
started to just, come up on its initial stage. So, how was the club back then?
Yeah, I mean, last week I remember having a conversation with Vipin sir, and he said there's a mass recruitment. 500 or 5,000 students signed up. You're having interview process. So back in 2011, it was very interesting. We were, I think, 5 or 6 people in the club, and we used to go to each classroom trying to convince student, please join the club, it will help you. It
Wow.
was We were trying to get more members, not many were interested. And they're like, okay, what are you going to get out of the club? Why do you even want to join? And I think now, there are a lot of alumni getting benefited. They're in a much better state. The club has grown more projects, so I think now students see the value of it. But back then they didn't. They just like, no, I have to sit and work after 4:30. Why would I do that? I just want to go back to hostel. And we were like, okay, how do you convince these people? So it was very, very tricky to get people interested in computer science. And mostly the mindset, I don't know about now, but at least back then it was, okay, I study, I get a job, and that's about it. And do I have skills? Am I able to work hard? Am I able to think creatively? No one really cares about these things. It's mostly, okay, I'm done with my engineering, I need to get a job. So I think more work, at least the hurdles that we faced in getting more students was to change this level of mindset. And yeah, that was a tricky one. Yeah. So yeah, if you ask me in one sentence, I would say it was way different, way small, but we had a lot of fun. And even with small groups, it was always amazing to be a part of club. There were people, leaving abruptly in between, um, and a lot of other things happening. But still, in the end, the group that we had in FOSS, the support system that we had, it's something that I still have now, and the friends that I had in first club are my best friends now. So it's something that even may created lifelong friendships for me. So yeah, it was. I would say it was very interesting back then.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's lovely.
Yeah,
It's nice
it's
that
actually,
you're
yeah,
keeping in
it's
touch
funny
with your
how you
friends.
Yeah.
mentioned that before you actually had to convince people to join the club, whereas now we have like 500 applicants and we need to come up with
Yeah.
a set of tasks to like narrow it down to the people who are really showing potential.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's in fact that's like that's what we're doing currently.
yeah.
Hmm.
Like the
Induction
freshers
process.
are coming into the club, yeah, and
Yeah.
we have to sort of filter out the people in accordance to the task.
Yeah,
So
Mm. Yeah, that's a difficult one. Yeah.
mm, right, like so in you mentioned that you really had to go behind people to sort of join the club. So how was that process like? Did you have to send out flyers or make posters or I don't
Oh,
know,
we didn't.
convince
I
people?
think I think our batch. Okay, I'll tell you how we all started. So, um, I remember there was a email from a friend of mine, and it was a forwarded email from Vipin sir, and where he said, "Okay, if you're willing to work hard, you can join the club, and we'll help you improve your skill set." And these are the alumni who were a part of the club where they are now, and I was excited. So I just sent an email to Vipin sir, and sir said, "Okay, you can join the club," and that was it. There was no enrollment process or anything. And he just gave a first task. He said, okay, which operating system are you using? Okay, do a simple Python code or a simple C program. I'm like, okay, this is it. So it was very very straightforward. There was no enrollment or something. It was like, okay, I just pinged sir in, it was Google Chat or something back then, and he just responded, and that was it. But for the other students, we actually went to classes during break time. That's even harder. You have to get their attention in the first place, and then explain about the club and what we do. And we also try to take it in batches. There were, at least at one point, there were like 30 students or something. But yeah, none of them really had the willpower to stay longer. And for them, it's mostly like, okay, I just want to have fun. It's all like what is seen in the movies, right? And people just want to imitate it, and no one really cared about doing quality work or to thinking creatively or contributing to society. And these were not really ingrained. So it's hard to convince people in that aspect when they're not even aligned with your thinking. So yeah, it was difficult. We did manage to get some, but they didn't survive in the club. but uh,
Oh, okay.
but it was very very different experience altogether. And I think 2 years later there were like more students joining, and the club kind of got really bigger. But it's mostly the hard work put by Vipin sir and his vision. And I don't think, to reach such a massive level, it's not an easy thing to do, especially to make students say that you can have fun with the work you do, you can have fun in the club. They just don't know that. They say, okay, this is something that I have to do, I have set of tasks, okay, so I'm missing out all the fun. And it's like a
yeah,
block in their head. But when you actually join the club, it's more fun than the other one. They just don't realize it. So yeah,
Correct.
it
Yeah.
was.
so, Chechi, what was your motivation to stay in the club? Because, like, I'm sure both me and Anushka know, like, it's a lot of work, like managing like college academics with the extra hours you have to put in for the club. So, like, what kept you going? Like, what was your reason to stay in the club and like put in the hard work?
Okay, so it's mostly personally. I get very happy when I learn new things, and even now, even the reason for doing a PhD was I'm happy when I learn something. I know it's a loop that never ends, but it's something that also keeps me going. So yeah, mostly it was that, because every time, every challenge, there's a lot of new events that were coming up. So I was learning a lot. I also have this habit of introspecting myself, if I'm improving or not, and I can definitely see the growth and the change in me. And I also loved the whole attitude of the club, because in most places it's okay, we train you, we charge you this much, okay, if you get the certification you get the job, and it's just so marketing bullshit that you see around. But in Fast Club, it's mostly okay, it's free of cost, it's all that matters is your willingness to work hard, and also the idea of contributing back to society. I remember in our batch we were asked to take classes to our classmates or to our juniors, and that part of knowledge sharing, the part of the bond, it's something very, very unusual, I say. Even in I've traveled across in Europe, it's very limited the way people do it, but I think the scale in which Fast Club does, it's very, very, very impressive. So yeah, what kept me going is mostly the attitude of the club, and it's very healthy in a way, and it's not just a selfish motive that drives it, it's mostly selfless motive that drives it, and that's the beauty of it. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, yeah, that's the whole experience of for us at that point of time. In fact, some of the things we also relate to even now. Like we definitely enjoy our FOSS work more than the online classes.
Of course, of course.
So
Yeah, I mean, some days, if I get very tired, what I do is I sleep in the class so that by the time I come to First Club, I'm very energetic. So I can totally relate with what you say. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, don't take inspiration from that, but yeah,
yeah, but yeah, it's still holds true. Definitely.
it's the truth, yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, Chechi, what is your favorite memory of the club? Do you have any particular memory in mind?
Yeah, one thing was, so back then, so we were like three or four girls. We used to stay in the hostel inside the ashram. So, and we work for the FOSS activity, we work in the cybersecurity building. Have you been to the Amritapuri campus, or it's totally new?
No, we just seen
Okay.
pictures.
Okay, so how the location is, okay, let's say here is the ashram and here is the university, and there's backwaters. So you climb the bridge to go to the university, and you climb back to go to the hostel. So that's and it's, I think, a 10-minute walk. It's not much. But we stay in the university like till like 9:30, 10 p.m. every day, and then to go back, okay, we are girls, and there are restriction and blah blah blah. So Vipin sir or some other senior faculty, they used to accompany us to go to the ashram. And yeah, I remember, of course, favorite memories always include our hostel wardens and and all the issues there. But something that I really liked was, even when Vipin sir is tired, and even if his health is very weak, he would still stay so that he can accompany us, so that we can work, so that he will take us there. And it's like even more caring. I sometimes find him more caring than my parents, to be honest. And to actually come with us and wait for us, and to check that, okay, we are inside the hostel, we survived all the issues with the warden and got in, and he was to just check everything, make sure that we are all right, and then he goes back. So this amount of caring, and without expecting anything in return, and I think that's very rare. And you can also find that in, at least in my batch, I could find that sort of an attitude in other members of the club as well. Because when you, it's normal, right? When you see something good, you, and when you are in a very positive environment, you also start to adapt all those good qualities. So I think, to see that, and yeah, it's very beautiful. um,
Mm, right.
and that he would wait for us, and work us there. And yeah, looking back, whatever we have achieved so far, whatever we did, it's totally because of the sacrifices that were made by sir and others in the club. And to do to go out of your comfort zone, and to take care of the needs of others, and to do that without any hesitation, I think that sacrifice is the ultimate beauty, if you ask me. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I
That,
think
yeah,
our batch
beautiful.
being online, like we've missed out on a lot of those experiences.
I
Like
know,
we
I
did the
know.
Mm,
technical part
right.
and like, but we missed out on like, okay, dealing with wardens and like actually like staying in the lab and working together. Like, but
Yeah,
hopefully within
I'm
a few
sorry
months
for
it
you.
opens
Yeah,
up.
it's really
Yeah.
fun if you have that. Yeah, yeah. Let's hope COVID situation gets better.
Hmm.
Yeah. Keeping our fingers crossed at least for November, I think, because maybe there's a little hope that
Yeah, there's
it's,
some
Okay,
rumors
that's
going
good.
around.
Yeah,
Not sure how true.
yeah,
nice. Yeah.
exactly.
So,
So,
Chichi, when you were in the club, what work did you do? Was it open source contribution or
Yeah. So,
cybersecurity or?
okay. So initially, what we started with was improving our typing skill.
hmm.
So we started very smaller, not like AI or any big things. I think even AI didn't even exist back then. I'm not sure. But anyway, so we started very small, like typing skills, web development, and yeah, attending small workshops on HTML, CSS kind of thing. It's very basic, very small. And I think then, yes, we did start open source contribution. I remember fixing bugs in Firefox, um, and we also applied for GSOC, and yeah, it was. There were also we were also kind of a mix. We also did a bit of CTF. There was, I think, no distinction between FOSS and BIAS, at least not as separate club back then. So there was some CTFs that I participated, and I was also working with another alumni. Maybe you know his name is Abhilash. He is currently in Sweden, and so he was back then doing his PhD, and I was interested in research. So he was also teaching me how to, read a paper, how to write clearly, and how to think critically, and all these things. So it was, yeah, for me it was a mix of lot of things. Yeah.
So, Chichi, you never like focus specifically on something like because now we've actually divided the club into like clublets. Like we have amhacks for like hackathons, and we have like a competitive programming team for competitive programming. So, was that not there back in your time?
Yeah, there was ICPC team that focused on coding. There was also BIOS for CTF, but I think the boundary is a bit. It's not that clear, clublets or clear distinction. I mean, okay, from the outside, yes, though there are separate distinction, but yeah, I was hopping on and off around things, so I think it wasn't that. Well, for starters, we didn't have so many members, so it was free
Right.
to do what we want. So yeah, for me, I didn't really have much of a focusing on one thing or another. It's mostly what you want to do, what skills you want to improve, and yeah, it's yeah. There was no clear distinction back then. Well, it was there, but it's mostly it was fun, and I did a lot of variety mix of things. Yeah.
Cool. So, Chechi, I think last podcast, the last podcast we had was with Arvind Etan.
Hmm.
So he told us a little bit about that Vidyut during your time. For those who don't know, Vidyut is the college fest that we have. So could you tell us a little more about what amFOSS's role was in the Vidyut that happened in your time?
Ah, I think there was a CTF that we organized. It was part of Vidyut. It's called SCTF something, Secure CTF something. And yeah, we formed a team. We played during the CTF. I think it was one of my first CTFs, and yeah, it was interesting. Um, and I think Vidyut also it's something that was also getting started in the university. So, but they also invited a lot of singers and movie stars, and so it was mostly like exciting time then. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have
It's
too much
okay. I think that was
memory of
a pretty long
it.
time ago. Good to
Yeah, it
see
was a
you.
long time indeed. Indeed.
Yeah, yeah, that's nice. So I think yeah, we don't know anything about Vidyut per se, but like, is there anything like striking about Vidyut festivals in our college, like throughout the years? Do you remember any particular feature?
Or if not Vidyut, like any event like
Yeah.
that was organized by amFOSS back in the time.
Organized by amFOSS. Oh, there were I think we okay, I think one of the events, it wasn't amFOSS as such, but it was an international conference on wireless. So that was mostly done by the wireless department. They handle it, but there were a lot of professors from across the globe, and it's the first time that they came to India. So usually how things work here abroad is you go to a conference is mostly in some hotel. They book a meeting room. You just go there, there'll be some coffee on the side, there'll be someone presenting. That's it. There were like hardly 30, 40 people. In India, we take it to the next level. I mean, in Amritapuri, and actually these guests were like welcomed with um, what do you call chanda, I don't know the English word for it, with drums and everything, and they were like, is it for us, you're welcoming us? And so we really showed them what Indian culture is and how we welcome guests, and we really welcome them to India as such, and not just okay, here you came to a conference, just talk and go, but we made them feel a part of India and show them what India is. And I think that was a fantastic experience for me. I haven't had an international exposure back then, but to actually see them come here and getting accustomed with our tradition, it was a very beautiful thing to watch. And I think all the amFOSS members also attended this conference, and that's one event that I still vividly remember. And yeah, it was very interesting, very diverse, and it's also moments where you're proud of your own roots, and that was a beautiful thing. Yeah.
So was this completely organized by students or
This conference?
yeah.
No, no, no. It was by the wireless department. So Dr. Manisha or some. I don't remember. It should be her. And yeah, it was a very large scale international conference, and we were participating in it. Yeah. But I think what amFOSS organized was the SCTF. We also organized, of course, the ECTFs, and there were other few events as well. But yeah, it was mostly the CTFs because I was also participating in the CTF, also being in the organizing committee. So yeah, it's mostly volunteer work. And another event, of course, is Amma's birthday, our chancellor's birthday, and that's Oh my God, you really missed that. You should have been in campus for that. It's amazing. And even there, all for amFOSS members, we volunteer because there'll be like 2 or 3 lakh people. And we really have to, yeah, I think the first duty I got was crowd control. And that's it's like yeah, being a security with having no experience and 2 lakh people coming towards you. So it's it's a very 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 different experience. And yeah, we get to interact with a lot of diverse people, with different education background, with different financial background, from different parts of the world, speaking different language, different culture, and everyone coming together, to celebrate her birthday. So it's a very very beautiful thing. And all amFOSS members, we did volunteer for it, and that's something. uh, yeah, it still stays as a happy memory in me. Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah. Do you remember what your first CTF was like? The experience behind it?
Yeah, yes, I think it was CSAW qualifiers round. If I remember, that was the first one, and the CTF for the second. And I had no clue. I didn't know what security is, and we thought, okay, let's just try. And there was one networking challenge, and okay, I know there is a flag somewhere. I just have to find it. Just try to, you know, play around with Wireshark a bit, and okay, there it was. I just pasted. Okay, I solved a challenge. What just happened? So it was mostly like I didn't know what I was doing, but trying to figure things out. And then it was like, okay, what did I do? How did that work? Okay, what does this thing do? What was the challenge about? And then there was the learning process. So it's mostly trial and error kind of thing. Yeah, it's interesting. And
Yeah.
it was fun because we were all sitting together and playing, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, so like how this is just like a random question, but um,
Sure.
uh, like if the CTF was held online, would it? How would that have gone? Would it? It wouldn't have been as interactive, I think, right? As maybe having it offline or something.
It depends. Even in online, I think you can still have fun. Um, it's, I mean, you just have to be connected, of course, virtually. And of course, I mean, sometimes distances doesn't matter, when you are in a team and working together. So, yeah, I would say it shouldn't be that different, especially when you're working something and having fun. Of course, being physically near is always a nice thing. You can just say, okay, let's just stop, come have a coffee, and just go
Yeah.
have a break. That you cannot do that. But I think just playing the CTF part, you can still do it. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it being 2021, like we're lucky. We have like so many alternate forms of communication.
Indeed. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Like if we have to discuss for a project, we just like hop onto like a Discord voice channel and like we talk that way. But like still communication is something that kind of has to be forced now because like it doesn't happen
Mm,
naturally. So like we have to
yeah.
arrange and like schedule meetings and stuff, which is a change, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just hope it gets better. That's all we
Yeah,
can do.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Chechi, I would like to ask you about ShaktiCon in your time. So, so how did it really start? Did it start actually when you were in
So,
college?
not really.
Okay.
I think Team Shakti actually came like 4 years ago. It was after our graduation. And so Team Shakti is, I think, a women only CTF. um, I think it's a clublet of bios, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's a women only CTF team from Amritapuri. And my friend Shri Priya, she was mentoring the team and she was actively involved. So for some of the Team Shakti meetings, she would also drag me into those meetings, so I also got to know them. And yeah, just interacting with them, and they were like very enthusiastic kids. And I think the idea of ShaktiCon actually started with Vipin sir and Shri Priya, and they decided, okay, we can have a women-only conference. And this is actually the first ShaktiCon happened this year, and I was actually involved. I got involved in ShaktiCon like beginning of 2021, and where we actually were planning how to conduct the conference, which days, whom to invite, and how to contact sponsors. So, it's mostly organizing stuff we were doing. And yeah, but the idea is something that I think we really need to take it to another whole new level. Because if you take information security here, especially in abroad, it's the women representation is very, very less. I remember during my masters I also did a minor in security, so I had to attend a lot of security related courses, and it's a big classroom. Maybe there are like 200 people in there, and I was the only woman. Maybe one or two in some courses, but I was the only one, and it was very, very shocking. So they would just come and say, okay, hey guys, and one girl. So it was I mean, they were happy that I'm there, of course, but the number of women entering into the field is very less. Some of them don't really feel confident, to do their good work in security. um, Sometimes they don't really have. I wish if they get the right kind of guidance, and if they have the motivation, then they can really excel at what they do. So ShaktiCon actually provides a platform, to encourage more women to be a part, to learn and to contribute to field of security. Because if you look at the current times, everything is online, and the of course there are good things about technology, but of course there are bad sides of it. And also hackers trying to, okay, they just do it for fun, and some do it for um yeah, how can you call it, very destructive reason. And remotely disabling pacemakers or hacking hospitals, causing deaths. And these are the extremes that we see. And I won't be surprised if there even starts a cyber war instance. So we really need more professionals who are trained in cybersecurity, and who can really protect our internet infrastructure. Because it's mostly like the job of a soldier, just that we are not on a battlefield, but it's a virtual battlefield anyway, and we really need virtual soldiers there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So ShaktiCon, it's a beginner friendly, mostly for women to get acquainted with security and to meet people, to get guidance. And I think um it would make a huge impact, in my opinion. Yes. But
Yeah.
we are also already we have started planning for ShaktiCon 2022, and mostly it'll be in April. And yeah, we are mostly extending it. We will of course have all the features of the ShaktiCon this year, but we would also have a lot of new things. So I'm also excited to see how that turns out. Yeah.
Yeah. So Chechi, I was curious actually, like as you mentioned, cybersecurity is a very male-dominated field. So like, was there ever like an incident where you felt like the odds were against you because you were female? Like,
Mm, yeah, I mean, it's mostly the mindset in these situations. I mean, you can definitely feel intimidated by men. You can definitely be intimidated because you're the only one there. But I think it's mostly the attitude. For me, I always think, okay, what is my purpose of being here? Just to learn. And does it stop if there are like men in the room? No.
yeah,
But of course, there were situations, especially in social interaction. Then sometimes, yeah, people cannot be. I mean, they may not be that, friendly. They may say things in a very different manner. So for a woman, it's the way we process all this information is different than how a man process. So let's say, okay, I get someone passed a judgmental comment, or someone said a critical comment. The way we process is very different than the way a man processes. So I
Mhm.
think to
Yeah.
get adapted to a world of men, it's very difficult. So what I do is I just be myself, and there's nothing I can do. And they should be happy that I am there, because I am the one who is changing the whole dynamics of their team. Because otherwise,
Definitely.
it's their way of thinking is just just straightforward. Okay, it's not. I wouldn't call it straightforward, but it's just like binary. And
Yeah. Mhm.
I think having women in a team is always something that takes a team forward, be it any field. And especially in security, I think if more women gets trained, it can really really change the way, even how the society functions, how institutions function, how universities function. So it's a time of the need, of course.
Mhm.
For me personally, there were like very very few instances where I felt uneasy that I don't belong here. It's a common feeling to have. I've also felt, in conference, okay, there were like people who have done big things. They're standing there talking about stuff you don't understand. Okay, I don't know anything. Am I bad? Do I not know anything technical? And it hinders your confidence. But it's mostly a mental attitude. You just have to say, okay, why I'm here? Okay, I'm here to learn. And what the things they're talking about, I can still learn it. It's no big deal. It's just information. You
Mhm.
just need to process it. It's just
Yeah.
not there in your head yet, but that's the only thing. So for me, I didn't. And I think even when I was so before moving to Netherlands, I did my master's in Finland, and even there, I was the only woman. Even here in my PhD team, I'm the only woman.
Mhm.
But I miss not having other women in the team. But do I feel uncomfortable? Sometimes, not much. But I think we need to be more courageous. We just have to always analyze our purpose, why we are there, and not be intimidated by men. Sometimes there are also bullies all around the world. Sometimes they just want to put you down. There are people like that I've come across, but there are also men who wants to help you succeed, and they
Mhm.
also ensure that you get the right resources so that you can excel. So it's a mix of both. And of course we need both men and women um, in security. But I think if we have more women, it'll be more how can you say, more diverse, but at the same time it can also change the attitude with which we look at things. And I think women have that potential in them, that they can change the whole atmosphere around them.
Right. So now that we're into this topic, do you have any kind of advice for these for aspiring women in technology who wish to make a career in the tech field? Is there anything they should keep in mind?
I think what women mostly need is a support system, if you ask me. um, because um, and for instance, sometimes I feel okay, I don't know this, am I not good enough? Maybe it's only me. Okay, others are doing great, I'm not. And it kind of goes into a very low self-esteem spiral. But then, if you know that okay, there are other women who are having the same issue, then you get a totally different perspective. Probably it's not just it's not you being not knowing things, but it's probably some other external factors that is affecting the way you feel. So when you share, when you have a good support system and understanding each other and validating each other's feelings, and to say that it's true, totally okay, but let's just see what we can do. And I think if that support system is there, women would feel more and more confident. And currently that support system is quite missing, not just in technology but even in real life conversations. There are hardly people, they don't talk about, let's say, mental health, or they don't talk about their, it's always like a big, okay, I wear a mask that I show to the outside, but I you know there are a lot of mess, but I like to keep it within. But there are also people who have the same issues, and I think when you talk about it, it makes you feel like you're a part of community, you feel comfortable. And I think women might get more benefit if they have a good support system, and if they have a support system that can encourage and motivate them, to enter into the field of security. I think we might get more women. And indeed, ShaktiCon is also, well, kind of a platform that provides support for new students. So yeah, that's for me. I think support system is the main thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. I think, especially even this uh, online scenario, having a support system both for this pandemic situation and the point that you just mentioned about women having a support system is makes it much more significant
Yeah,
in
indeed,
these
indeed,
times.
indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, even like being able to interact with our alumni, like having female role models to look up to has helped a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yes. And for me, my role model is our Chancellor Amma. I mean, she you can she has undergone a lot of difficulty uh, that you can imagine in the world. Being born in a village, and she doesn't have formal education after fourth standard, and she faced a lot of odds in the society, but she had a goal to serve the society, and she didn't let any of those stop her. She just kept going. And she is someone whom I look up to when I feel like less confident, when I feel like I can't do anything. She is someone who is a role model, who is a teacher, a mother, who is there as a guiding light for me. So indeed, if having a female role model, definitely, yeah, uh, makes us want to do more. Yes.
Yeah. So, Chechi, I was curious about how your experience in the club has helped you in your career, like the skills that you picked up.
I think a lot, a lot. So, um, from open source contribution. So, okay, it's not just about, okay, did I get GSOC or did I not get GSOC? It's more about the preparation process. And for me, I was comfortable reading code. And this is a very important skill that you need to develop, because when you are in a big project and when you see a lot of code, you shouldn't be feeling scared. You should be comfortable like reading like a paper. You should be comfortable reading a code like that. So FOSS Club really helped me to make myself comfortable with technology, with changes, with communication, with reading paper, with writing paper. It's very rock solid fundamental skills that we developed. And it's these skills that are still helping me even during my PhD. And it's not something people get trained elsewhere. And it's a very great advantage that we have as for students, that we build a very solid foundation and we gain skill set. So even if we go anywhere, even if we face a new challenge, we are not phased out. We are just like, okay, let's see what is there. We can solve it. This that faith, that confidence in us. And I think I got that confidence from FOSS Club. So it's yeah, we all did. And it's if First Club was not there, I don't know where we would have ended up. I mean, even if you get a job, it's you should be comfortable dealing with adversities and to dealing with negative situations. And I think First Club really groomed me to face these situations with confidence. And yeah, it has and it's still helping me. Yes.
So, Chechi, what really inspired you to get into cybersecurity and actually make a career out of it? Like, is there something
So
in cybersecurity that? Did you
Yeah, I
choose it?
mean, I was playing CTF in BTech, but yeah, I was not that curious at that point. But when I did my master's, for the master curriculum was mostly about mobile computing, but then they also had a minor in security. So minor means you do like some coursework worth 20 credits, and so it's mostly like you take important coursework, but it's not like a major degree. So in minor, so I had very interesting courseworks, and then yeah, I really saw the kind of need that we have right now in security, and because okay, even if you build like 100% in a secure system, which does not exist, but even if we did, there will always be a backdoor. So it's a never ending demand, um, that we will have in terms of cybersecurity. And I felt that it's an area where I also liked when I attended these courses. And yeah, it's I cannot pinpoint and say, okay, this is when I decided to do it, but it's mostly a gradual process. Yeah, and I was also looking for PhD positions, and for some reason, in my mind, I wanted to do in cloud computing, but for some reason, I ended up applying to all security related positions. I don't know how, why it happened that way. Probably deep within, I liked it for some reason. Yeah. But it was really, it was and it is and it will be the need of the hour. So, yeah, that's the primary motivation.
So, Chechi, you've obviously come a very long way in your career since your time in the club. So, like, if you could go back in time and maybe tell something to your younger self, like, is there anything you would tell yourself or?
I would ask my younger self to be more relaxed because
Mhm.
many time, the stress of life gets you, it eats you. Even when I was in BTech, okay, there were like expectations from family, also financial commitments. I had taken a loan to study, so to paying back the loan was like a major stress factor. Okay, what if I don't get a job? Okay, what if I go and study abroad and I don't get a job there? Okay, how will I live abroad there? So there's like a lot of questions that we have, and it's like an overthinking process. And I would ask myself to relax a bit and to take life easy, to take life as something fun, and believe in yourself, believe in your skills. Just don't always think worst case, but also think the best case. And having a positive outlook really, really helps. And relaxation is not just in terms of going stress free, but it's also in terms of learning. Sometimes, let's say, okay, I have 2 3 papers to read. I get overwhelmed. Okay, I have to do this much. Okay, this paper is this much pages. There are like lot of models they used. I don't understand. How do I do it? So when you think like this, you cannot really learn. Even if you read the paper, you skip a lot of important facts. So the primary things so right now when I feel stressed, I just don't do anything. I make my mind relaxed, and only then I start learning, because only a relaxed mind can absorb information. It doesn't happen otherwise. So it's important that we take care of course, the mental health, but also don't increase your stress level. And I remember during my PhD, one funny incident happened. So I had a meeting with my supervisor, and sometimes, meeting with your supervisors can be very energy consuming. And I was very stressed. And there was a deadline coming, and there was I think a management stress management seminar or something, and they made it mandatory for us to attend. I went there, and they had like a small sensor device they place in your ear, and it measures the level of cortisol. So cortisol is the hormone that increases when you have stress. It's a stress hormone, and they measured it. And this was so I went there, and it was right after the meeting. It was like way up high, and the person is like, okay, where are you coming from? So it was very so that's when it's like a visual proof of the amount of stress that we take. Of course, the quality of sensor and everything is, we can question all that, but still, it kind of shows how much stress we knowingly or unknowingly take, and be okay with it. But it's not okay. You need to learn to relax, because let's say you grow old, you're 60 years old, you look back. Do you remember like your okay, I failed in that exam, okay, I flunked that year, or oh, I cried then, oh, I didn't do this well, I didn't do my job? It doesn't matter. All it matters is, okay, did I have fun, did I learn something? Sometimes when students fail, they feel like, okay, it's the biggest thing in their life. Okay, how will I face others and all these things? But when you're 60 and you look back, it's fun. It's like, okay, yeah, I failed, I dropped 1 year, I moved on. But it just shows how you're able to handle your failures and how you come out of it. So what I still do is, when I feel like stress, when I feel like I can't do something, when I feel lack of confidence, I always fast forward and say, okay, I'm 60 now, I look back, how do I want this time frame to be? How do I want to address my issues? Do I want to just quit, or do I really want to fight for it and go forward? So that kind of gives you motivation. So to my younger self, I would say to relax, and not just to my younger self, to all members of FOSS Club and to whoever watching this, I would say relaxation is the key. If you're not relaxed, you cannot process anything. You
Yeah.
think you're processing, but it's really not entering your mind. So first thing for learning, for doing anything, is to have a relaxed mindset. Yeah,
Yeah, I really like that analogy actually. Like looking, I think when you're like going, imagining that you're 60 and then looking
yes,
back, what that's a nice way to look at things, because then like I think it encourage more people to take on experiences, because that's what matters at the end of the day. The
of course.
experiences that come. Yeah, so
And
that's a
I mean, if I look back, I cannot recall all the stressful moments when I was 18 or 19. It's just,
yeah.
yeah, okay, something happened, I don't even remember what it is. But when you are facing stress, you feel, okay, this is the biggest hurdle, this is the biggest mountain in front of me. But fast forward, it doesn't even matter, it's not even going to matter. At the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
it's what good you did to the society,
Yeah.
how relaxed you were, how much fun you had, and it's just to be in the moment. And relaxation can only happen when you're in the moment. Yeah,
Yeah, I think all of us have a tendency to like overthink things and like make them seem worse than they actually are in reality.
of
And I think
course, yeah.
that's one good thing about amFOSS. Like, it gives us a safety cushion. So, like, even if we mess up, even if we fail, it's okay
Exactly.
because, like, we can
Of
always
course,
try
it's
again.
a, yeah, it's a very, very safe playground. You can make all mistakes. That's just
Yeah.
how you learn.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a safe playground, I would say, and you should really make use of it. And especially when I was doing PhD, I really wished that I had failed in my high school. Really, I'm not joking,
Oh.
because that experience would have helped me to handle failure more easily. Because when you do
Mhm.
PhD, it's very normal that you think of something, you think of ideas, you write something, and it just ends up in trash bin. It wouldn't even
Mhm.
materialize sometimes. I had a project I did. I wrote a paper for 6 months, and I had to completely trash it. So
Yeah.
so you have to detach yourself from these kind of experience, and to actually handle those failures and move forward. So I think first club is a place where you can fail. So failing doesn't mean not doing anything and simply sitting, I failed, I'm not doing anything. No, it's to do stuff, do it wrong, learn it the right way, and to go forward. It shouldn't be like, oh, I fell down, I'm comfortable here, I'm staying here. No, that's not the right way. But to make mistakes, don't be afraid to make mistakes. And I think if you have failed in life, then it really helps you to face more adverse situations in future. And right now, I'm sure, since there were like many moments in PhD where I felt like I failed, But those are the moments that really helped me to gain courage. I've learned a lot, and I think they will really help me. Another thing is, success and failure, it's a very, I would say, Western concept. So in Indian concept, it's more like duty. So did I do my duty? Did I not? It's not like success or failure, because we don't care what the fruit of our action is. So in my case, okay, I worked 6 months on a paper. It was my duty. I did it. Okay, it did
Yeah.
not work well. I had to throw it, but that's not my problem. I did my part. So there's no success or failure in there. You need not label your experience with success or failure. It's more in terms of, did I do my duty right? And in Fast Club, when you do something, yes, did you do it right? And it need not be like, oh, I have to do it correct. You can make mistake, because that's the way to learn. So here your duty is, did I learn from those mistake? So when you need not attach everything with success or failure, because it doesn't it's mostly like Western concept. We need
Yeah.
not really get our head into that, oh, I'm a failure. I've seen my a lot of my colleagues you say that, but it's, you need to ask yourself, did I do my duty? Yes, then you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, that's definitely a very good mindset to keep, not labeling experiences as success and failure, and like more
Indeed.
focusing on doing your part and like letting
Yes.
the outcome just be. Yeah.
Yes. And that it's the same thing that Krishna told in Bhagavad Gita. But yeah, I'm just saying it in a different
Yeah.
way. Yeah. And that's a very healthy attitude, because then you're not affected by the praise of success, nor you're affected by the sadness of failure. So you're neutral because you did your part. Okay, that's the outcome. You just accept it. So it
Yeah.
also gives you a mindset to accept things in life, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. On a little bit of a side note, Chechi, I actually saw your video clipping as part of the amFOSS induction video, where you
Okay.
mentioned, yeah, where you mentioned that you've traveled to over 10 countries as part of your studies. So I was curious, what was that like, traveling so much?
It was fun. It was more than 10 actually, but
Oh,
I
wow.
think around, yeah, I mean, in Europe, okay, so let's say Netherlands is the same size as Kerala. So it's not, here traveling from one country to another in Europe, it's like traveling from one state to another in India. So it's not a big deal to count the number of countries, because, yeah, in Europe, if I have the visa for Netherlands, I can travel to any other countries in European Union region. So it's easy to just, I can take a bus from the front of my apartment and go to Germany in 1 hour. It's that easy. So it's not a big deal, but it's different. Like cultures are different, languages are different, so you feel the difference. But I think what really fascinated me was the climate in all these places. I was in Finland. I remember when I was boarding flight from India, it was plus 30 or plus 25 something. I arrived in Helsinki, that's the capital of Finland, and it was like minus 15. And then I waited 2 weeks, it was minus 27, and it was like fully snow, and it was my first time seeing snow in life. I was very excited. And yeah, it was fun. It's a whole new different atmosphere, and you can also see the difference in which people, um, the way people are. In Finland they're more silent. In Netherlands they are a little bit lively, but sometimes they are very direct in what they say. In Italy it's more chaotic. So it's a very unique experience. And of course there are some difference in the food, but yeah, it's more in terms of people, in terms of the building, in terms of yeah, it's a very nice experience to travel in Europe. I would highly encourage you guys to do that as well, because traveling really opens up your mindset, and it also it relaxes me a lot. That's why I travel. But I've learned a lot of things from my travel. You meet a lot of people on the way, and you learn a lot of things. So it's always a fun thing to do. But you need not wait to come to Europe to travel. You can already do in India, and India
Yeah.
has, I think, more diversity than what Europe has. um, I mean, here, even if you take, like, in terms of food, okay, they have bread and in a soup and the main course, okay, there are some variation. But in India, it's amazing. Even within Kerala, you can see a lot of variations. I
Yeah.
think most students, I think, you can plan like an yearly outing, to somewhere, go to Manali or go to Gujarat, Rajasthan, just and explore our own country. I haven't done it. That's why I really want to do. So I want you guys to experience it. Yeah, and maybe I'll join when you guys go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah,
would be
that'd be
great.
nice. Yeah.
Yes.
What are some of the countries that you've visited, though, just out of curiosity?
Well, most of the countries in Europe, so Finland, Sweden, Germany, Netherlands, Italy, Greece, all these countries. But I've also visited Turkey, in Istanbul. That's a very, very unique experience because it's right in the middle of Asia and Europe. So
Yeah.
basically, in Turkey, you have a bridge that connects Asia and Europe. So it's you see a mixture of both. Like, some streets would be like European, but in some street I felt like, oh, I'm home. This is like, okay, it's very busy. The street, the way people are, it's mostly Asian. So you can see a mix of both in Istanbul. And so I think Mediterranean region is something that always fascinated me. I really love their food. So Turkey, I went. Yeah, and then during BTech, we also went to Israel, and that's also very, very amazing, very inspiring country. We can learn a lot from Israel, um, and how they have grown to be one of the superpowers in the world. And yeah, it was a very eye-opening and interesting experience. Yeah.
Chechi, so you studied in Finland as well? So like
Yeah, I
I've
did my
heard,
master's there.
yeah, I've heard a lot about Finland's education system. I'm not sure if
Mhm.
that applies to the university as well, but like I've heard that they have a very different take on education, like less homework and more focused on like practical work. So did that apply while you were studying there?
Yeah, so how Finland does it is, I think they start their schooling at 7 kids were 7 years old, and it's mostly like very few hours of teaching. They don't give much homework, and to actually be a teacher in Finland is more harder than to be a professor in a university in Finland. So they give a lot of importance to primary school and the way education is built up. And it's also the way, I think, like the elected representatives think. Sometimes they think, oh, I'm elected, I'm here for 5 years. What changes can I bring in 5 years? But I think in Finland, it's more long term. They make students comfortable. They start from a very young age, but they think of a long term goal of because these are the students, that come later on, and they go into industries, they pay taxes, so they are the ones who are helping to grow the society. So I think one thing I like about is they don't really think about the five-year term deadline, but they think in a very long term perspective. So that's something fascinating. But yeah, teachers really need a lot of skill set in Finland, to be able to teach in primary school, and that's something, it's very, very different than what we see in other places. As for universities concerned, uh, well, I had a lot of assignments, a lot of homework. So I wouldn't say it was an easy ride, but it was more focused on practical. Yes, there were a lot of assignments that were like made, so that students gain the practical knowledge, and they also focus a lot on entrepreneurship, and they encourage more students to build startup. And the first thing I think. No worries. So the first thing that they tell you is that, okay, you're coming to me for funding, but you if you haven't had like two or three failed startup, I don't trust you. So they really encourage people to build something, and even if it doesn't work, it's okay, but you need to. So I think that conducive atmosphere is something that Finland provides. Yeah, but universities had a lot of homework. It wasn't otherwise. Yeah.
That's nice. Is there any country that you liked in particular while you
In
were
particular,
visiting?
mm, I would say Switzerland. It has its natural beauty, and it's breathtaking. And yeah, recently I visited a place near the Switzerland Italian border and did a little bit of hike there, and it was very nice. And it's you stand near a very giant waterfall, you realize that you're nothing compared to the power of the nature. So it really um, makes you think how small we are, but at the same time about our role, to preserve nature, to protect nature, and we also have a part to do, because just one tsunami or one earthquake, we can all die. So that's the power of the nature, and we are nothing compared to it. So it's all these experience that makes you think deep. But Switzerland has its own unique beauty. I really love that country. Yeah, it's expensive there, but I really love it. Yeah.
Mhm. On that note, did you ever experience any culture shock, like maybe something that was considered normal in that country, but like would seem strange to us? Like,
A lot. I think the beginning years when you go to a new country, it's always culture shock. Um, yeah, I don't know. Well, in Netherlands, the way people talk is sometimes it's very straightforward. They will say, um, straight at your face that what you did is wrong. So sometimes it's very hard to take, and we feel like, okay, this guy is rude, he's not polite. And but then over the course of time, when you learn their culture, you tend to think differently, because it's just the way they're brought up. They just say what is in their mind, and sometimes it's a very good thing than to hide things, and then things resurface. But initially I felt it was very rude, but and it was very, very, very shocking for me. But now, yeah, I'm getting used to it. I hope I'm not becoming rude, but it's just they're very nice people. They're very nice, very helping people. But yes, sometimes straightforwardness we will interpret it as rude. So yeah, it's a cultural thing there. Yeah.
So, Chechi, do you have any future advice for the students watching? Anything that they should keep in mind?
Yes, I would say that enjoy the process. Don't obsess with the goal. Oh, I want this job, and don't be obsessed with. It's very important to have a goal, yes, but don't be so obsessive overthinking about it. Just enjoy the process and focus on what is at hand. Focus on your responsibility, your duty. Do it right. Don't worry about success or failure, what others think, what society thinks. Just don't worry about it. If you feel what you're doing is right, be confident, do it. And it's okay to fail, in the sense it's okay to not do things right in the first attempt. It's always a learning process, so learn from your mistake and relax and have fun. And it shouldn't be more about, oh, it's my life, it's my goal, I have to go there. But look around, there are people who may need your support, so support them, help them, and grow together. And I think growing together should be one of the primary motives of FOSS Club. You guys are already doing, but sometimes we get so self-obsessed with our things, and sometimes we become like, okay, I take care of only my thing. And yeah, it's normal for people to get selfish, but we have to come out of that, and we have to grow together as a group, support each other when they are in need. I know it's difficult in online times to do that, but check on your friends if they are doing okay, because COVID is having a very, very detrimental effect on people's mental and physical health as well. So support your friends, check on them, check if they are doing okay, and build that connection, because the friendship that you're building now is the one that is going to stay lifelong, at least from my experience. And yeah, just support each other, grow together, and have fun. Yeah, relax. That's the main thing. Yeah.
Cool. So is there, do you have any questions, Bhavya?
No, no,
Between
not
class?
No,
yet.
I'm good. Yeah.
Cool.
No,
So,
just yeah, wish you all success for the club. The club is growing, massively, and I'm very happy to see all the progress that you're doing, all the various projects, and the enthusiasm of students in the club. It's very amazing. And yeah, just go on, and don't let anything stop you. And if you need anything from alumni, we are always here. Do reach out, and I wish all success for the club. Yeah.
Thank you so
thank
much, Chechi.
so thank you so much, Soumya Chechi, for coming here today and taking time of your busy schedule to attend this podcast with us. I had a great time. Sure, Pavitra also had a great time talking to you about your experience in the FOSS Club, what you're doing right now, and just to get to know about you. It was a pleasure having you here for this podcast. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Likewise. Likewise. I really enjoyed this. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.